Greetings everyone, this is Raina. I've been meaning to make this video for a really long time because I love books and I really enjoy turning people on to authors whom they might never have heard of and talking about books that have had a great impact on my life in a spiritual way. The first author that I can think of that fits this bill is Charles Bukowski. And I was 18 or 19 when I read his first book, loved it. I think it was his book of poetry called Love is a Dog from Hell. And I started reading other books by him. He was an outsider who wasn't attractive physically, had been abused as a child, and just didn't feel like he fit in with the mainstream. And he has become an icon for those who feel that they don't fit in either. He was a very philosophical person, although he was an alcoholic for most of his life. And yet, I feel very inspired by some of the things that he wrote because not only do I consider him a great poet when he wanted to be, I mean, he was also considered pornographic sometimes, but he definitely had a spiritual side to him in how he viewed life as a whole. And I am forever grateful for his work and for his commitment to live life as he saw fit and not to try to be something he wasn't. I really admire him for that. And the next person that I can think of who impacted me was Shirley MacLaine, and specifically with the book Out on a Limb. Now, Shirley has disappointed me because I read a memoir by her daughter where she talks about how Shirley, did not raise her and she was raised by this man who she thought was her father and turned out not to be. And I believe the daughter. I don't think she would do it unless she was, really telling the truth. And I found it profoundly sad that this is going to be part of Shirley's legacy because she really did promote, you know, a lot of things that the New Age movement became about. And it's a shame that she ended up having her image tarnished so much because she was not kind to her daughter, allegedly. But you have to separate the messenger from the message. And, as with other channels, sometimes they can be deeply flawed and still come up with a work that, is accurate and or inspirational on its own merits. And I think that Out on a Limb is just one of those books. Now, I don't know if I would feel the same way right now as I did when I was in my late teens, because I read it a long time ago. But it was the book that convinced me that there was a God, because I had always been an agnostic and I didn't want to be. I wanted to believe in God, but I am not the kind of person that just automatically believes in something. So I feel that Shirley's book kind of put me over the edge. And she also mentioned a Pleiadian woman in there. So that was really intriguing. That kind of like blew my mind. And as I said, I don't know if I read it again 30 years later if I would feel the same way about it. But who knows? Maybe I would. The third book that I think really had a big influence on me was Peace Pilgrim. And there's an interesting backstory to this. My partner was given this book by somebody who thought that he would really like reading it. And I'm not sure how much he read of it, but he put it on the shelf. And I think he told me, "Oh, you should read this. You'll really like this," and blah, blah, blah. And, every once in a while I would open it up and I'd, read a small passage, but it just did not interest me. And I'd keep putting it back on the shelf. And this went on for years. And then 10 years later, I actually read the book from cover to cover and I really loved it. It's the story of this woman who decides to commit her life to peace, and she walks, all around the country, staying in different people's houses, but she's all about, spreading the word about peace. And she did this for years, and she actually ended up dying while getting hit by a car as she was walking somewhere in Indiana. And she also preached simple living. She was a vegetarian, at the end of her life. I can't remember how many years she had been a vegetarian, but she really preached simple living, which is another thing that I admire about her and which influenced me in that sense. And this is like proof that sometimes you're just not ready to receive certain information. And this has happened to me more than once where either I've had a book or I've been introduced to some kind of book and I just am not interested in it. And later on down the road, I totally get it. So it's just a matter of the material being ready for you at a certain time. So never close your mind to something because you never know if in the future you'll really get into it.